welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. How is everyone doing? Hopefully well. I'm, of course, your host, Marcus Nez. And thankfully, unless I'm forgetting something, and if I am forgetting something, I'm thankful for that. There has been no real bad, awful news this week to report on. I think. Dead air. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, so that is good. But the week's not over. I'm recording this Thursday, so anything could happen on Friday. And anything could have happened this week that I just blanked out of my memory. There was the stuff about Ubisoft canceling the post-Civil War Assassin's Creed game, which reasoning and all that, not great, but there have been worse things. At least no one was fired or this or that. Or like with Xbox, where it just feels like self-destruct mode. I think the EA Saudi Arabia stuff was last week, but it's already a blur when this stuff has happened and so on. There was some stuff with the Hyper Light. What is it called? Not Drifter. Drifter is the one that already came out. Drifter is the game that people like. Hyper Light Breaker, I believe it is, which is an early access that is going to come to an end, which is unfortunate. It seemed like a cool game. I was interested in it, but I am very much so not a early access player these days. And I just like to wait for things to finish that are in early access, come to console, and so on. So, yeah, I'll never play that game. It's just, I'm dead inside this week. I've been playing Fruit Bus on stream after finishing up the main DLC of Rage 2 on Monday. Been playing Fruit Bus these past 3 nights. You'll have to wait for my complete thoughts when the Attack the Backlog episode 4 comes out, and I still have yet to finish it. I will not finish it at the time of this episode's release, I will not finish it tonight for sure. It'll trickle into next week. But what a prime example of a game getting in its own way time and time again to ruin the experience. Because it should be such a delightful little game about being on these small islands, collecting the food you need to prepare for the dishes you make for customers when you park anywhere and open up your little window. Like, hey, ringing the bell. Anybody want some salad? You want a fruit, vegetable salad? You want a sandwich? You want a smoothie? It should be such a wonderful, delight thing. It looks great, but it has performance issues. It has very weird design choices, all of which I'll get into then. But my God, if you want to see me get frustrated, join the streams. Every weekday, every weeknight, 7 p.m. Central. Anywho, let us get on to what I've been playing and get this short episode over with. Speaking of what I've been playing, those games include Blood of Mehran, Piggly Paggly Boom, Super Mining Mechs, Super Long Cat, Squish Machine, and Buildest. So, Blood of Mehran is an action-adventure game that feels very old school inspired. And by old school, I mean 360 era. All right, I am back after a hard cut of just so much coughing. I don't know what's going on there. Anywho, Blood of Mehran. It looks like a 360 era game. The visuals are this kind of offish, blurry, pixely. They don't look great. Full stop, they just don't look great. And then performance-wise, it isn't terrible, but it is not smooth either. To go back to Fruit Bus, which I was talking about a little bit ago, my understanding of what is going on, I'm fucking dying apparently. Fruit Bus runs worse. Fruit Bus has its own performance issues that are worse. But Blood of Mehran does feel off. The real problem with the game, though, is in the play. It feels pretty dang terrible. You can choose to tackle certain situations stealthily. So you can go in and rush an opponent and take them out very quickly. You can sneak around and take enemies out one by one, depending on how they are placed in an environment. Because they don't do a lot of patrolling. They'll typically just stay in place and do some kind of idle animation. In the little bit I played a little over an hour in this prison thing. It's taking forever to just escape this fucking thing. And the animations don't look great. The hit detection, collision issues. You have a shadow that you cast when walking around, but you still feel like you're not connected to the ground. You still feel like you're not one with it, like you're maybe an inch or two floating in the air, something I've always talked about hating in games. And then the combat, there's no real weight or impact to your attacks, and there's no lock-on. So when you're fighting groups of enemies, the way the system is supposed to work, I guess, is that the angle you're attacking or looking, it feels terrible. And there were instances where my character would seemingly be focused on an enemy that I'm not interested in fighting currently, and I want to go fight somebody else, but he's just dead set on looking at this one enemy. The camera can get in the way. It's clunky in that sense. It is just a real clunky mess. And then the story is not great, with poor voice acting, unengaging. There were points early on when it's guiding me through things or trying to introduce me to mechanics where it had me on a railing, essentially, on a track where I couldn't move left or right. I could just move forward and then initiate whatever thing they're trying to introduce, which I found to be a poor way of introducing these mechanics. It felt it felt too on the rails because it was literally on rails. I just had a terrible, terrible time playing it. The combat, not enjoyable, visually unpleasant. Tech issues, slight performance issues. It's just very janky all around, unfortunately. And I was excited about the game. I was looking forward to checking it out. Again, I think the screenshots and stuff like the GIFs on the Steam page make it seem like it's going to be more polished and better than it actually is. Whereas in actuality, it is just a messy game. That is, again, Blood of Mehran. Piggly Paggly Boom is an arcade game, that's what I would call it. It kind of mixes asteroids and what would I call it? You are a pig who is shooting this arrow that is tethered to a large piece of rope. And you're in these small environments where you have to destroy all of these floating rocks, these exploding type rocks that are very asteroid-esque again. And the way you do it is by hitting them either with your arrow, or when the arrow hits a surface, the rope will linger for a little bit. And if one of the rocks hits it, it'll break into two, unless it's at its smallest and there's no more for it to break into parts. There are power-ups to find in the levels that will make it so that, because your arrow by default fires very slowly. Or it doesn't fire slowly, it ascends slowly. And there are power-ups that will make it ascend basically immediately, or power-ups that will stop all of the rocks in place, give you more time because you have a time limit to complete these levels. Then there's another one that I think might keep it tethered for longer. And in addition to destroying all these rocks, there's a bit of platforming, whether it be to navigate the area and get to a better location to better destroy these rocks, or there might be a coin to grab if you want to get the special coin of a level. And that's all it is from level to level. I only played a handful of levels, maybe the first 10 or so. And it was okay, but I wasn't enjoying it. The platforming, your jump is very heavy, doesn't feel good. There wasn't a big emphasis on the platforming, so it felt unnecessary. It didn't do a whole lot for me. I'm a big fan of asteroids too, and earlier in the day I did have a good kind of comparison for what it felt like, but got none of that anymore. I think the coughing fit just destroyed me. It killed me. But that is Piggly Paggly Boom. Next, we have Super Mining Mechs, which is, based on what I've played, very, very, very simple in its concept. Earth is running out of resources, so you and your group of fellow miners are sent to other planets to go and collect resources. And that's basically the conceit of the whole game. Gameplay wise, it is very, very, very much so like Steam World Dig or other such games on a basic level, where you'll have a handful of missions that you get from one specific character, and you just go digging into the ground of the planet you're on and collect certain resources. You have a limited amount of space, of course, but you can return to the surface at any point. You don't have to worry about building any kind of ladders or whatnot to traverse back up to the surface, because you are in this vehicle and it has some kind of, I think, balloon system where balloons will sprout out of the top of your vehicle when you want to move upwards, and then you just float back up to the surface where you can return, deliver the supplies for whatever mission you're on. You can only take on one mission at a time. You can't accept multiple missions and go after them all at the same time. One mission at a time. In addition to drilling for materials, every single time you drill through plain dirt, that will fill up its own separate part of your vehicle. So when that's full up, you won't be able to drill through dirt anymore. You'll have to return to the surface and talk to another character who will allow you to just offload your dirt. You don't get anything for it, but you just clear up your space. And there are characters who will give you some upgrades. You can sell stuff that you don't need for a mission. the missions you complete will give you some kind of reward tied to it, whether it be for your vehicle that'll allow you to upgrade in some way. And there are characters who will give you certain items you can purchase, like bombs that can clear various parts of the underground area that you can't get through with your drill, and so on and so forth. Feels fine. Pretty simple, basic stuff. Nothing too original in what I've played, but if you enjoy that style of game of just drilling underground, collecting resources, rinse, repeat, completing these similar cycles, doing various missions, it's good for that, but it's not visually exciting. It's not gameplay-wise exciting. It's decent turn off your brain and just do these tasks type of game, but it's not bringing anything new to the table in what I played at the very least. It is again Super Mining Mechs. Super Long Cat is a game I wish I liked more because I think there's some interesting things to it, but a specific thing really bugs me. So it is a puzzle platformer where you play as a cat who, every level is full of cartons of strawberry milk. For every carton of strawberry milk you grab, you're able to extend your cat one length. And this allows you to extend your cat both upwards and side to side or down, depending on where you are. So you can create like an upside down U shape. You can create an upside down J, L shape. And why you would do this and not just go straight up is that in some cases you might be able to jump across an area and then hook yourself essentially onto another platform. And then wherever your head is, you can retract your lower body using the bumpers, playing on Xbox, and eventually bring your lower body to your top and be standing on that platform, and then extend yourself out again and use this to reach greater heights. And your goal on all the levels is to collect various cats of different shapes and then bring them back to cardboard boxes to deliver them and then escape through the door on the next level. From a puzzle standpoint, I quite enjoy the game. I like looking at a level and trying to figure out exactly how I should shape my cat in order to get to the next part of it or reach this height or that height. What is the best way to do that? And you can also, if you see a ledge you want to reach and you can't quite get there, you can extend yourself there, but you can't do the hook thing or something like that. There are ways in which, though I feel like it'll always work with the hook in later levels, but you can jump and mid-jump retract your lower body to give yourself that height advantage. I like all of that. It also has a really charming intro song that I thought was chuckle-induced. Like, it wasn't hilarious or anything like that. It's not up there with the best funny songs I've ever heard, but it was charming. It was a nice, cute little song that endeared me immediately to the game and made me want to like it, regardless of even having played it at that point. But my issue with the game is that there are quite a few bits of platforming that require you to jump at the very last second when jumping off of a ledge. And I've never been a fan of those types of platformer requirements. I find that the kind of challenges that require you to, and platforming that requires you to jump at the last second at a ledge, requires so much precision that it is the most prone to potential input lag type of issues, or just, I find them to be the most finicky. I don't like them. It's just a personal thing where that kind of thing bugs the shit out of me. It never feels right, and there's more of that in this than I would like. I wish it wouldn't be so pixel perfect in some of its platformer requirements, and instead focused on the puzzle design and how you utilize your ability to stretch out the cat. Because I think there's, in what I've played already, some interesting things there, and I have fun with that, but then sometimes the platforming gets in the way, unfortunately. That is, though, Super Long Cat. Then there's Squish Machine, which is my favorite game of the week. Very, very simple. I got through the first 30 levels in 10 minutes, if even that. And it is very, very simple. Mechanically, it is basically like a Flappy Bird or such game where you can jump in the air and then you can keep yourself in the air by constantly jumping. There are unlimited jumps. So you think of a game that has a double jump. This is just unlimited jumps, and you can keep yourself propelled in the air. So you can reach great heights or let yourself fall and then jump and navigate a space that way. And all you're doing in the first 30 levels, at least, they might get more complicated after this. There are 2 switches that show up in these levels. Sometimes there's only one. And you have to activate them both before the ceiling and the floor that are covered in spikes lower and raise to squish you. So you're trying to clear these levels before you're squished by the Squish Machine. Obviously, that's where the title comes from. There will be obstacles in your way, whether it be enemies that you can kill by landing on their head, or boxes that you can destroy by landing on top of them or hitting them from below. The layout will, of course, be designed in such a way to impede your movement. There will be other spikes that you have to avoid and other such obstacles. But the basic core design of, and when you hit one of the switches too, it'll stop one of the things from moving. So you have a green and a red switch. I don't know if it's always the same for both of them, but you hit one switch and then the floor will stop moving. So there's some advantage to that. And you also learn in some of the more tighter levels that have maybe flame coming out of this thing and enemies over here, that the best order to tackle a level is by killing this enemy first and then going through here. Because if you go through that area, if you did it the other way and you went through the area first with the fire thing, then you have to wait for the enemy to move over and then move away, and you're losing too much time, and the ceiling will be too low by the time you want to go and complete this part of the level. Not that the levels are super involved in what I played, but there is a bit of thinking involved in doing that. There are 120 levels in total. There's a time trial mode that I believe is timing you as you are playing through every single level back to back to back. So that could take more of your time than you would. I mean, it's for speedrunners essentially, because it's going to take quite some time if you're struggling here and there, and you have to do it all in one sitting. You can't save and quit and return to the time trial. I don't know if there are leaderboards, because you can't go and access leaderboards on their own. So I don't know if there's a leaderboard for the time trial once you finish it, or if it's just a thing where you take a screenshot and then you share it. That is one of the issues I have with the game. I wish there was some kind of leaderboard system for each of the individual levels. And if there isn't one for time trial, I especially would want it there. And I think given the simplicity of the design and the whole thing of the game of just avoiding the ceiling and floor from squishing you, completing the level fast enough, I wish there was a level creator where you could create your own levels and you could share them and download and play other people's levels. I think that would really help with the longevity of the game, because as it is, I really enjoy it, but without any kind of leaderboard and the quickness of levels, it's not a game that's going to sustain your attention for very long. You'll clear the levels, you'll do the time trial if you want, and then you'll be done with it, which isn't bad. It's going to be satisfying for that time. But if you're looking for something that lasts longer than an hour at max, then you're going to look at somewhere else in Squish Machine. But again, I played the first 30 levels and had a really, really good time with it. Last one is Buildest. Play the first 6 or so levels of this. A very poorly made tutorial, and just I was getting very, very frustrated with the tutorial to the point where I almost didn't even keep playing it. But the way it is set up, at least in those first handful of levels, you're in a cylindrical area, a circular area. You've got a handful of builders there that you'll have this blueprint. You go into this blueprint mode, you see where you need to place, and you'll have a floor you need to build or some walls you need to build. It'll give you the materials needed, and then you go around this space collecting the materials from designated spots like sand or wheat kind of shit or some other crap. But you get all these materials. They'll have different, not really minigames, but button prompts, button presses that require them to grab. So something like the sand or the wheat-ish material, you just press one button to put it into the box and then another button to complete that. And it's very simple. With some of the more complicated material, you might have to press one button 3 times and then another button 2 times. Or with the water, you have to hold the button to pour the water into the container and let go at the right time so that it fills it up almost to the top, but not overflows. Doesn't overflow it, and you can't do it too little. So there's some timing base there. But you collect all this material, and then when you have enough for the specific thing you are focusing on, so if it's a floor that maybe only needs sand to build it, you take a container of sand, you drop it off, you blow your little horn in front of a builder, you drop off the material automatically, they'll take it and they'll go build that section. If you have a wall that has a door opening that requires 3 different materials, you collect all 3 of them, you take them to a builder, blow your horn, drop the materials, they pick them up and complete the thing. And I think you can play this with up to 4 other people. But you're just doing that over and over again. So you're running around in this circle, collecting the materials, dropping them off, and that's it. You're awarded for how much time you take. If you finish a level in a part-time, which is always very, very generous. If you get enough, I guess, likes, so if you don't screw up anything, because you can accidentally give a builder not enough material or the wrong material for a piece of the construction. If you screw something up, you can't go into a destruction thing and get rid of something. And I forget what the other award was for, but that's all you're doing. Once I got myself familiar with the controls, after getting a little frustrated with the tutorial, I was like, oh, this is all right, I guess. But at least early on, there was absolutely no challenge. There was no penalty for screwing up the button prompts for collecting the material. It's not like if you did that, you would lose a like from doing that. And it's very, very hard to give someone the wrong material or anything like that unless you're just not paying attention. So they're at least in those first levels, there is absolutely no challenge. You don't have to rush to clear the par level. So hopefully later levels become somewhat challenging. Otherwise, it is just, and I can't even imagine how simplistic this would be playing with other people unless they change the requirements or lower the par time. But I don't even know why you would play with another person, because there are some instances too where I feel like I'm able to do everything on my own so easily that if I was playing with another person, either me or that other person would have so much downtime where they're not doing anything, because there's just nothing you can do, because you have your builders, and when they're all working, you can't do anything else. You can't help build something yourself. So you just have to wait for them to finish and then drop off the material and so on. So it's fine, I guess, but nothing too special there. And that is it. So that'll do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to the sausage dump where I talk about this, that, and whatever, as well as a private Discord channel and some fancy Discord roles depending on your tier. Or you could just support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye bye. It's go time, go daddy. It's go time, go